What's up YouTube, Yugioh, bringing you a Noble Knights deck profile. So obviously we had the Link Monster leaked or revealed to us last week when the OCG received the packs, and it's quite helpful for the deck. So what I'm going to kind of do for you guys is I'm going to show you a build currently as Noble Knights are. There's two ways you can build Noble Knights. You can build them the cheap way where you go get them all in platinum, or you can build them a bit more expensively because they are kind of a slight collector's kind of deck. You can go for the higher rarity, which may cost you a little bit more, but they do look beautiful in higher rarity, and that's kind of where I'm building up to from here. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to take you through the deck profile and we'll kind of explain what we've got and just why we play it the way we do. So we play triple Merlin. This is probably one of your most important cards in the deck. It is your like main searcher and special summoner. So you get to use each effect of Merlin once per turn. You tribute this card, then special summon one Noble Knight monster from your deck. So he basically gets you any Noble Knight monster you want, but you cannot special summon monsters the turn you activate this effect except Noble Knight monsters, which, you know, pretty much okay because that's what you're going to be doing anyway. During either player's turn, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Immediately after this effect's resolve, synchro summon one Noble Knight synchro monster from your you control. Now, obviously, we don't, in this build, we don't play the Noble Knight synchro monster. So that's one less relevant. And then during either player's turn, you can banish this card from the graveyard. Immediately after this effect resolves, XYZ summon one Noble Knight XYZ monster using monsters you control. That's probably more relevant in this build for us. Next up, we play triple Noble Knight Boars. Again, pretty staple in the Noble Knight deck. It's treated as a normal monster while face up on the field. While it's equipped with a Noble Arms equipment, it becomes an effect monster. So it gains this effect, it becomes dark, and its level is increased by 1. During your main phase, you can reveal 3 Noble Arm cards from your deck, have your opponent randomly add one of them to your hand, and send the rest to the graveyard. You only get to use that effect once per turn, but then obviously by sending your Noble Arms to the graveyard, when you bring out more monsters, they just re-equipped anyway. Which is why we play triple Noble Knights and Madrot. Again, very, very important card. This is getting a reprint. Well, the OCG got this as a reprint, and so did they get Boars. So it might be interesting to see if the TCG version gives you a Noble Knight reprint as well. Again, it's treated as a normal monster until it gets an equipped card. Until it's equipped with a Noble Arms equipped card, and then it becomes a dark and its level is increased by 1. And then once per turn, if you control no other monsters, you can special summon one Noble Knight monster from your deck in defense position except itself, and if you do, destroy one equipped spell card you control. So the whole idea is you would Merlin into Madrot, equip Madrot with one of the equipped spell cards, then use Madrot's effect to special summon Boars, destroying the equipped card. The equipped card then reattaches to Boars, or you can leave it there and make a rank 4. It's entirely up to you on the ways you want to make the plays. But of course, that's kind of what the Noble Knights work in. It's your one card kind of play-through combo. Next up, we play double Noble Knight Brothers. So this card can only attack if you control exactly 3 Noble Knight monsters, so you very rarely use it as that kind of target. When this card is normal summoned, you can special summon up to 2 Noble Knight monsters from your hand. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except Noble Knight monsters. Once per turn, you can target 3 Noble Knight and or Noble Arm cards in your graveyard and shuffle all 3 into the deck, then draw 1. So he's a nice little Diagusto Emerald for the deck, especially now that it's been banned. But of course, he brings out 2 more that you can then obviously go, cool, I'm going to overlay them into a Noble Knight, and then if you want to use a Noble Knight's effect or however you want to do that, and then obviously Brothers can give you that extra draw after you've used and abused its effect to special summon. We played 2 Guinevere, Queen of the Noble Arms. Again, you can target 1 Noble Knight monster you control, equip this card to it from your hand or graveyard to that target, which is really, really important. You can only use this effect of Guinevere once per turn. The equipped monster gains 300 attack. Apply the appropriate effect depending on the attribute of the equipped monster. Now, 9 times out of 10, the equipped monster is going to become dark unless you put it onto Brothers. Light, if the equipped monster would be destroyed by a card effect, you can destroy this card instead. And then dark, if the equipped monster battles an opponent's monster at the start of the damage step, you can destroy that monster, then destroy this card. So it's a nice little 1-for-1 kind of trade-off. Next up, we play hand traps, triple Ash Blossom and the 1 Maxi. Now, obviously, they're the most powerful hand traps in the game, so until the ban is kind of adapts that or changes that, they're pretty much staple in all decks. I know Ashes are quite hard to get hold of. If you don't have an Ash, by all means, you can play stuff like Ghost Ogres, which aren't exactly easy to get hold of, but a little bit better. Or you can kind of change this up a little bit more and you can play more tuners. So if you want to go for a synchro-based variant, you can take these out and go for You can play like effect failures, you can play glow up bulbs. Obviously effect failure is the main one you'll probably want to put in here, but it just gives you more access, but that in turn will then mean changing up the extra deck a little bit, which I will show you when we get there. So that's it for the monster lineup. Now on to the spells. Last chapter of the Noble Knights. This is kind of like your Hail Mary, basically. If your opponent controls a monster and you control no monsters, you can target one Noble Arms equipped spell card and one appropriate Noble Knight monster in your graveyard, special summon that monster, and if you do, equip that spell card to that appropriate monster. You can only activate this card once per turn. So basically what it does is it gives you that last hurrah, and it can then start your chain reaction off again. So you can bring back Boars or you can bring back Madra, and then you add the quick spell card, and then obviously Madra can then get plays going off from there, which can then in turn turn into your XYZs, and again equip all the spell cards. It's less, obviously, because of the amount of disruption we do have at this moment in time, it's less relevant or important, but I still think it's a very, very good second turn card play if you've got stuff in your graveyard, or it's one of them last top deck cards that can change the entire game for you. Like if, let's say, you've evenly matched your opponent or your opponent's evenly matched you, as long as you've got some sort of fodder or some sort of appropriate cards in the graveyard, this can change the game for you in such a positive effect that it's kind of worth playing at 2. If not, you want to put it down to 1. I still think it's worth having in the deck. Double Noble Arms Excalibur. So again, you equip it to a Noble Knight. It cannot be targeted, which is very, very important. And then the turn it was sent to the graveyard, the exact same. They kind of all reattach from the graveyard, which is really, really cool. But you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target a Noble Knight XYZ monster you control. Special summon from your extra deck one Noble Knight XYZ with a different name by using that target as XYZ material. So it just lets you rank up, basically. It's your nice little rank up in the graveyard, but it's the negation that kind of helps that one. Noble Arms Destiny is your destruction. Noble Arms Calburn is, again, it gives your monsters an extra 500 attack, which means you can constantly go over, and it gives you an extra 500 life points. So it's a nice little continuous to kind of help boost your monsters up, as well as boosting your life points back up. So it's not the end of the world if you're playing cards that we do in this, like Strikes and Warnings and Cosmic Cyclones. There are builds that play Solemn Scolding because you play such a small trap lineup, which I still think is a very, very good idea and very, very valid to play. So it's entirely up to you the way you want to go with it. The one Gallant gives you an extra 1000k, but it loses 200 attack during each of your standby phases. So it's kind of only relevant for about 4, maybe 5 turns until it becomes back again. So you don't really want to keep it equipped for such a long period of time. You do want to get rid of it at certain points. The one Noble Arms Edrat. So you get to target a set card your opponent controls. The equipped monster loses 500 attack, and if you do, you destroy that card. So it's a bit of your back row removal, but it costs you 500 attack. So again, exactly like Gallant, it's one that you don't want to be holding around. Triple Scapegoat. This gets you into your link plays. It can also help you move on and extend your plays as well. So this can help you get into your Messias Radiant and your Proxy Dragon. Now, we play triple just because we want to see it consistently. It can also stop your opponent and slow them down. If they're like, right, I've got direct attack, I'm going to win the game. Or it can also bait out one of their back row hates. You just go Scapegoat, and then they've got to deal with your tokens first. But even if they leave one token on board and you get a normal summon out, that can still help you push forward into your other plays. Next up, we play double Cosmic Cyclone, because it's probably one of the better back row removals to have in the deck. Again, because you can kind of regain some of the life points. You can put MSTs and Twin Twisters in if you want to. Twin Twisters less relevant in the sense that you don't really always want to be discarding certain things. Yeah, okay, sometimes you could discard a Noble Arms and then it can re-equip from the grave sometimes. But it's very, very rare that you'd want to be discarding stuff, whereas Cosmic Cyclone is very, very helpful. Potted Desires. Now, all our main monsters we're playing at 3, obviously minus Maxi, which we can't, and Guinevere. But still within reason, it's an incredibly powerful card to give you that +2. Yes, obviously Ash is a thing, it does happen, but that +2 can be what changes the game. Again, it's another one of them ones that if you top deck it, it's not the end of the world. You top deck it, you're going to go, cool, like of all the cards in your deck to top deck, this isn't one of the worst ones to do, and then 2 cards you gain could be everything. Next up we play the one Regeki, the one Rhoda, and the one Soul Charge. So obviously most of our monsters are warriors, so we do want to be getting our Rhodas to get into our Modrots. Soul Charge can then change your game and kind of extend you into your Link plays, your XYZ plays, and kind of get you back some board presence, so again, not a bad one to top deck. And then Regeki just to board wipe and finish the game off, or to kind of clear your opponent's board and start them back at phase 1. Then we've got the 1 solemn warning and the double solemn strike. Again, like I said, you can take out the strikes for Scoldens if you want, because we do play very, very few set cards. Now, obviously, with Cosmic Cyclone, you can choose to set it or keep it. It's entirely up to you. What you do with Solemn Scolding, though, is if you do set it with Cosmic Cyclone, you have to make sure you use Cosmic Cyclone earlier or before Scolding becomes irrelevant, which is why with Strike you've kind of got that ability to use it when you choose to and when you please. Okay, now onto the extra deck. So we play a double Articus, the King of the Noble Knights. Again, a very, very important card, deals with all your opponent's back row. You target 3 Noble Arms, equip spell and track cards with different names in your graveyard and equip it to this card. And then once per turn, you detach 1 material from this card, destroy any number of spell or track cards on the field, up to the number of Noble Arms equipped spell cards you control. So just in general, not just attached to him, and it just goes bang, 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 clear back row, and kind of go from there. Double Sacred Noble Knights of Articus. Again, not too bad. It's quite consistent. You can make this guy. He's not as good as the other one in my personal opinion. But again, you get to target 3 Noble Arms equipped spell cards with different names in the graveyard and equip them to this target. And then once per turn, you detach a material from this card, then target 1 other monster on the field, destroy that target. If this card on the field is sent to the graveyard, you target 1 level 4 or higher Noble Knight monster in your graveyard and special summon that target. So it's a nice little recycler, and it kind of deals with monsters for you, but because it doesn't deal with as many monsters as equipped spells, it's not as useful. Now, I like to play a small rank 4 toolbox with Tornado Dragon, Castel, Utopia package, and of course Baguska. Now, Baguska is just incredibly important for that first turn plays where maybe you've bricked a little bit or maybe it's a little bit slower, but Baguska is still incredibly powerful. And as long as you don't equip the spells to your Madra or your Boars, you have the ability to make Baguska, and I think he's just too powerful not to. Again, he can really, really change the game for you. And kind of push you towards it, stall your opponent out until you get into your draw cards or the cards you need, and then extend and push your plays forward. And then worst case scenario, he is an Earth attribute, so you can use him with a Scapegoat token to get into your Mrs. Radiant. Now, we play a couple of synchros because we do play Ash Blossom. Now, believe it or not, there are some times where you have a level 4 monster on board, you'll have 2 Ash Blossoms in hand, and you just go, you know what, the synchro would actually help me out quite a bit here. So the synchros we play is Black Rose to nuke the board and kind of restart. The Yazi, because Yazi can be a nice little 1-for-1. It's not as important. You can easily take Yazi out if you wish. It's just a nice level 7. And then, of course, the Clear Wing Synchro Dragon. Again, another nice, really nice level 7 synchro. Our link monsters, we go with the 1 Proxy Dragon, the 1 Mrs. Radiant, and the 1 Deco Talker. Now, you can bump Mrs. Radiant up to 2, so if you were to take out Yazi, I would probably put Mrs. Radiant back up to 2. That just makes your tokens are even more consistent. But with your 4 tokens, basically the way it works is you'd go into Mrs. Radiant, then you can go into Proxy Dragon. But because the deck doesn't spam from the extra deck, it's not as important to go into Proxy Dragon in that sense. Which is why we've got Deco Talker, because then you can go Mrs. Radiant, then go into Proxy Dragon, and then if you want, go into Deco Talker, or use a monster to go into Deco Talker. So you'd go Mrs. Radiant with 2 of your tokens, with still 2 tokens on board. You would normal summon a monster, link that up to go into a Deco Talker, and then use your remaining 2 tokens to go into a Proxy Dragon. And then, of course, you have other plays that you can kind of extend through the Noble Knights play style themselves anyway. It just gives you a couple more options to play around, and Deco Talker is, as now, the staple link monster in all decks, in my personal opinion, if you can make them, because it just gives you that out. It gives you that beta. It makes your, it can go up to a staggering 3800 attack, and then the target and negate also helps when you've got your spells as well. So that's it for the deck profile. I hope this kind of gives you an idea of where to start with Noble Knights. Now, of course, you can change it and adapt it for when the new card comes out. And, of course, when the new card comes out, the deck might change quite a bit, or it might just adapt a little bit to include that. Now, of course, the extra deck will change in its senses, because you would change up the... obviously, you take out your Yazi, you could probably mess around with some more of the synchros as well and give you more options. But, I hope this helps. I hope this gives you a couple of ideas. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and until Thursday, guys, see ya.